Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Quest 6 Review. We're going to take a look at forms today. So, forms are something that you can put data in, hit a submit button, and it's going to go to a database, it's going to go to an email, it's going to go to a spreadsheet, it's going to do something with that data. Well, we've looked at forms. If you want to look more in depth in it, take a look in your book, look it online. Today, we're going to do a practical application of forms. So, we know how to basically build a form. If you don't have a database to send that form, or if you don't have some sort of script to process that form, that's okay, because there's a zip file right below this video. Yep, go grab that file, because what we're about to do is create a customized Google form. Now, Google has a great ability to create forms within their Google Drive. The one downside is there's not really a lot of customization. So we're just going to take that form, we're going to take a few of the names, the IDs, and that form name, and we're going to throw it into a customized script. Now, I'm going to also add validation on the client side, so I got a great little script that we can take a look at. So go ahead and grab that zip, and once you open it up, you're going to grab this folder, and let's take a look in our folder. We're going to have a couple files. Number one, we have a form.html, we have this folder called JS, and we also have a thank-you.html. Okay, so what's going to happen in the form? This is our form. The JS is going to do some of the validation for us. Just take a quick peek. You don't have to really know any JavaScript or jQuery to be able to set this up. I already have it provided here. This is released under MIT open source license. I'm going to show you a website that this came from in just a moment. I did not write this script, but you'll notice that I have a jQuery validate file, and we have this jQuery 190. Basically, these two files are going to help us do our client-side validation. Alright, so let's take a look at what this form looks like on the client side if you're looking at it in the browser. So here we are in the browser, very simple form. It's customized. We're going to have full name, email address, and comments. You'll notice I just put an asterisk next to these two so that we know we want to validate them. So this form's not going to work at this point because I haven't set anything up, but let's go ahead and take a look on the HTML side, and then we can get into how this form works. Before going into the HTML, though, I did want to point out the jQuery validation plugin. You can go to jQueryvalidation.org to get a little bit more information on how to use the product, how to be able to use the various different features, and write some of your own information within these things. They have some good resources right on this site. Okay, that down, let's take a look at what's in our forms file. Okay, in the form file, I'm going to right click, go into my text wrangler, and we're going to see a lot of information right off the bat. Alright, let's break it down, understand what we got going. We know we're working in HTML5 because of our doc type. If you go in there, we're going to be working with HTML. And now let's take a look at our head. There's a lot of information in this head. Very first thing that you can see, we got our normal title, HTML forms. Right below that, we're going to have an inline style, or a header style, if you will. And I have only one rule or one selector, this label selector. And we're also going to be taking that class of error and applying these various declarations. So very simple there. You can take a look at those, alter those as needed. A little bit lower, we're going to have our two scripts, those JavaScript that we took a look at in that JS folder. So we're just going to put those in there. That's how those link in. And then there is one more script, and this is going to help us customize some of the messages and show what entries are actually required within our form. So you're going to want to take a peek at this because you're going to have to modify it if you have a form with other fields in it. But I think you can get the point looking at this form, and go ahead and take a look on that jQueryvalidation.org site. So, all right, let's go a little bit lower into our form. Before we go too low, though, I just wanted to point out I did put these hashtags in entry 01, entry 02. These are just placeholders at this moment. So as you go through your file, you're going to be replacing the areas that have the placeholders. Okay, so a little bit lower, we're going to jump into our body. Now, it looks like there's a lot of code in here, but it's not too bad. The very first thing we're going to jump into right after the body is adding a little bit of custom information in this form action. Now, by default, if we grab the form action from Google, it's going to send us right back into Google once we have a confirmation and we've sent that form out. So we do have to change this a little bit. What you're going to be grabbing here is a few lines of code. We already have it in this one, so you might just want to edit this particular form. I've set this document up so you can edit it. So if we take a look at, we have the form action, and then we're going to put the post URL that we're going to grab from Google in a moment. You'll notice that I did put an ID of comment form, and this will reference up here to this comment form in this little bit of jQuery that's sitting in that head. So just make sure that the comment form matches the ID that you have in this area here. We're going to be using the post method, but we're going to target a hidden iframe. So on submit, it's going to be true, and once that happens, you're going to set this up. We're going to run this little script, and this submitted is going to turn off, and so it's going to turn the on load on, and we're going to actually load this hidden iframe. So here's the hidden iframe. This is the ID that we're referencing up here. That's our target, and what it's basically going to do, it's going to kick us over to that thankyou.html that we have, so we can have a custom message that pops up here. Now, so let's jump into our actual form and take a look at what's going on. Really, we have a basic few fields. I set up a field set, and then we're going to have 3 things within that field set. Very first thing that we're going to have is our entry 1. That'll be our full name. Our next one's going to be our entry 2, which is our email address, and finally entry 3, which will be our comments. And then we're going to have these just blank divs, so we can really break this apart. The only reason I'm using divs in this scenario is because they're a block level element, and it's just going to space these things out and stack them right on top of each other. Obviously, as I'm stripping this down, so you can go ahead and put all the custom styles in it that you need. This is just really kind of the structure that you're going to need to make this thing work. Okay, so once we jump into here, we are going to have a label, and you'll notice that there's this for attribute, and it's always going to reference the ID in the input we're looking at. So this entry 1 in the for should match the ID that's sitting down here in this input. We need to start creating this form in Google Docs so that we can actually start grabbing these entry names and populating this form. So I'm going to jump into my Google Docs. Here I am in Google Docs. Let's go ahead and generate a form. I'll hit the create button here, and I'm going to jump in and create form. You'll notice right off the bat, it's going to give you some basic themes that you can pick from. It really doesn't matter what theme you want to use. I'm just going to set on default, and I'm going to call this comment form. Okay? So once I have my comment form set up, it's going to hit OK. It's going to give it that name, a comment form, and I can go through this list and start adding the various fields. So you are going to want to add the fields in the order that you've already set them up in your HTML document, but you don't really have to fill out all this extra help text or actually make it valid in this particular form, because we're going to do all the validation on our own HTML form. So the first question I did is my full name, so I'll enter in full name. I'm going to change this over to text so we can enter text there, and then I'm going to add another item, and our next item we want to add is email, so I'll put email. And then I'll also make sure that's text, done there. And the final one is our comment. So I'll add another item. I'm going to change it from a text type this time to a paragraph text so we can get a little bit more box there. And this time I'm going to put comments. Okay, we got our 3 files that are set up. We have something that's working pretty nice here. So one other thing that we need to do when we set up a form in Gmail is we need to choose a response destination. So once this form gets filled out, it's going to actually send this the responses to a spreadsheet. So I am just going to click on choose response destination. I'm just going to leave it everything at default. Essentially, it's going to make a new comment form responses spreadsheet directly next to this form. So you have 2 files that really generate this form. I'm just going to hit create right there. Defaults are great. Okay, so let's just take a peek at what we've already created. We're going to view our live form. This is how Google's form is going to style it. There's a lot of other things that are on this particular form. You can go ahead and put in a full name, email address, comments, and it's going to submit the form. So let's go ahead and just test it out, make sure it's working. If I go back into my edit form, I can click on view responses. That's going to open up that responses spreadsheet that we have set up. If you want to see what that looks like within the drive, I'll just click over here real quick. Here's the 2 files that I just created. First of all was the comment form. That's our actual form that we can edit, put different fields in, and this is going to collect the responses in the comment form responses. Okay, so going back into the actual comment form, I can go ahead and put my name in here, Adam, and then we'll put my email address. I'm just going to put adam@adam.com, and maybe I want to put a comment, and I'll put test. So right when I hit submit on this form, I should be able to go into my Google Drive responses. Oh, where are we at? here we are in the responses, and it's fed that information directly in the form. All right, we're working. We got things that are going to go and set up. So let's jump back into that form and grab the HTML that we need. So if I jump into the form itself, I'm going to go to the live form. Here we are in live form. You'll notice that you can right click off to the side and go to view page source. Now, there's a few ways that you can attack this. You can copy a lot of this information out and then put it into a plain text file and pull out the things that you need. For this particular instance, I'm just going to look in this view and grab the things that I need. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look for the thing that says form action. Once you find new form action, you're going to see this big long URL. What you want to do is you want to grab that URL. I'm going to select it all. I'm going to hit Command C on a Mac, Control C on a PC to copy that particular HTTP address. So I'm going to go back into my text wrangler here, and that's where you're going to replace this thing that says the Google Post URL. Make sure to also replace those hashtags in there. So once I select that, if I can get it selected here, I'm going to go Command V, repaste that particular address. Okay, we got one element down. Now we need to change some of these entries that we have all set up in here. So we have, first of all, full name, email address, and the comments. So jumping back into that source code, let's see if we can find it here. I'm just going to right click and view that source again. All right, what do we got? First of all, we're going to be looking for something that says entry and then a big long number after it. And we want to make sure we're grabbing the particular entry that's for the item that we're looking for. So the very first item was that full name. So if you look at here, I've already found the entry. I just want to make sure that this is the right one. So if I scroll over to the side here, we should be able to see. There it is, full name. So I know we have the right entry. I'm just going to grab this code, copy that out, Command C. Jump back in Text Wrangler, and I'm going to take all these entry ones and I'm going to replace it with that thing I just copied. So I'll copy it there, I'll put it in that for. I'm also going to put it in the name, and I'm also going to put it as the ID name. I'm also going to jump back up into my jQuery up here, and I'm going to replace this first value. Since this is the entry that we want to change, this is really would be called full name, if you will. If you were creating this form yourself, you might name it a little bit better than something like entry, some crazy number. But for this instance, we want to reference entry, that number. You'll see down back in our code, we have the entry all related to this full name. You'll also notice that I have this area required equals true. This is for accessibility. If you want to read about area, definitely look it up online. But that's also somewhat of to let this people with disabilities understand that this is a required field, and it helps with screen readers and various other devices that are assistive for those that aren't able to see the form in the same way that you can. So we want to extend the ability for people to use these forms as much as we can. All right, so let's go ahead and jump back in and fill up these last few entries that we have going here. I did notice that I did need to replace this entry 1 as well, so we'll replace that in there. Okay, so let's jump back into this and grab those last few entries. So here we are with email. Grab that little piece of code there, copy it, and let's replace our various codes up in the Java or in the jQuery here. Got that one, got that guy. Scroll a little bit down into the email address area, place all those entries there. Finally, we'll do our comment box. So there's our text area, here's our entry, copy that guy, and replace our O3. You'll notice that there's no jQuery that you need to replace for the O3 for the comments, because I'm not doing any kind of validation on it. Okay, so at this point, we've actually just converted this form to a customizable form. Let's go test it out in action. So I'll do a file save here, and we'll get out and we'll go back to our form. So if I go to HTML forms, I'm going to refresh this so it gets all that new code that we put in there. Well, let's first try it out by just hitting submit and see what happens. Well, it's validating our form. We know that it's asking for a full name, and it's also asking for a valid email. So let's try it out. I'm just going to put test in our form. Great, putting test in there is going to remove that validation. So let's start entering an email. I'm going to put in just a few letters, not a validated email, and see what happens if I try to progress on. Well, it still knows that it's not a valid email. So I'm going to have to put an @ symbol in there and a .com. Oh, let's put a little bit more on that address there. Aha, now it's actually passed validation. That might not be a real email address, but for all intents and purposes for our validation, having that @ symbol in there and a .com at the end is going to pass it as an email validation. Finally, we can put a test. So it could be a test custom form, and then we can hit submit and see if it actually validates. Awesome. So our form submitted locally, and I can go and submit again if I like. It's going to get back to our form. Okay, now since we've sent this locally, it means that we're just sending this off those particular files that were sitting on our desktop. But we need to host those files in some sort of web server, a hosting account that you might have. Or let me show you what you can do with those particular files and use Google to host them. So we're going to jump right back into our Google account. You'll notice that I'm in the same folder that I created my Google form and also that response area. I'm going to create another folder. This time I'm just going to call it form. Let's call it comment form. Comment form. And I'll create that folder. Now, one of the things that you're going to have to do to this folder so that anyone can see it is you're going to have to make it public. So by right-clicking on that particular comment form, I can go to my share button, click on share. In the share settings, now this is a really important step, you're going to have to change this and you want to put public on the web. Okay, I'm going to hit save there. I'm going to hit done. There we go. Comment form is public, shared on the web. I'll jump into that particular folder here. Let's get the comment form. And now what we're going to do is we're going to upload the files that we have on our desktop. So I'll jump into my files. Here we go. I'm going to grab form and I'm going to grab thank you. I can't upload this whole folder, so I'm going to have to create a little JS folder and then I'll upload those two jQuery files. So I'll hit open. And it's going to let me know that I'm going to put that up on a shared folder. That's great. That's what we want. So there goes that form and the thank you uploaded. I'm also going to just click this extra file here, and I'm going to create a JS folder. Create and share it. All right, let's join that JS folder, and then let's go upload those last two files. So grab those files, go into my JS folder on the local machine, and then I'll select both those files, open, and upload. Okay, so we have all our files on this particular area. They're going to be sitting in this folder called comment form, and you'll see that inside that comment form, I'm going to clean some of this up here. You'll notice that we have the form and the thank you HTML. So what's great now is if you right click on this form and you go to details and you'll scroll down, you notice that you're going to have a public URL. If you click on that URL, that is the URL that's going to be hosting your form. You're going to notice right now we're pulling this off of Google Drive. So if you go ahead and try to submit, as long as it has all those files in the right place, it should validate just the same. Let's go take a quick peek in the responses, make sure there's nothing here. So there's only 2 responses at this point. Let's go back over into our form. Let's do another one. Let's do a crazy name. Let's do Crazy Pants. And then we'll do email. crazy@pants.com, and then let's do a comment of hello. Okay, so we got hello in there. Hit submit, and it looks like it's going to go right to our custom submission page. Let's go take a peek at those responses. There we go. Crazy Pants has signed our comment form, and we're ready to go. So fantastic way to be able to host your own form, customize it. Now obviously we didn't get too much in depth in customizing this particular form. It's pretty stripped down when you really look at it. There's not much going on, but of course that's your job to go in there, style it, make it look awesome, put other things around it, make it into your own thing. Now you have a customized Google form that's feeding right into that spreadsheet. Thanks for watching. Peace.